different types of mining accommodation. Conversations about mining. Hi, Jess. How are you?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Andrew. How you going?
Yeah, really good. Before we start, I just want to say congratulations to Brendan, who did a work ready package with us not too long ago. He got himself a fitter's job with Northern Star, so he's really pleased about that. He's rotating out of the Defence Force and into a mining job, so he's really happy about that.
Awesome. Congratulations, Brendan.
Excellent. All right. So today you're going to talk about a question that we get asked a real lot about accommodation on camp, and I'm going to chime in with my two pennants when I come through. But you've probably got the best experience with this, having done some chef work on site before, knowing all the ins and outs of it. So yeah.
So I guess a question we get all the time in our group and on the pages, it's always asked, I'm going to XYZ camp. What's it like? Can anyone tell me which is the best camp? I've been offered two jobs. Which one should I go to? Which has the best accommodation or which has the best facilities? To be honest, these days they're all pretty good. Like the standard of them, it's not a hotel. You're not going away on holiday. It's not a resort. You're going away to work, and there is, I guess, you're always going to have a donga of some sort or a room of some sort with a bed and bathroom and your own kind of usually a little kitchenette of some sort. But it's pretty basic. It's not luxury, but comfortable. And I've been to a couple of exploration camps that were pretty seedy. Feral. But yeah, they're all pretty good. And
Some of the camps that I started with when I first started mining
oh,
in the late 90s, you didn't have your own bathroom. It was just a shared shower block
uh,
and you had a donga, and that was it. And the walls were pretty paper thin as well. They've come a long way
yeah.
over the time.
I always remember the story you told about all the drillers being put out of camp and you had to drive past them like a shanty town. But
Yeah.
yeah, look, to be honest, I think really what it comes down to is you being focused on why you're there. I think you need to you need to have those goals really clear. And then, the food's not always going to be amazing and the accommodation may not always be great and the gym may not be great if you're going to the gym. Some places are like a resort. They have pools, they have tennis courts, they're amazing, but some aren't. And I guess you just have to really focus, especially if you're going for an entry level role. Your focus shouldn't be on how good the food is or what your accommodation's like, because to be honest, the food's like a buffet. You can make what you want out of it. You can make a wrap, a sandwich. You can there's always something to eat. You're never going to starve. There's always healthy options. And as far as the accommodation goes, like I said, they're all pretty good, but I think you really have to focus on why you're there and what your goals are. And obviously, if it's really bad, make a complaint. But
Yep.
we see a lot of pretty spoiled these days with what they're complaining about.
Yeah. And you just
And
got to be
yeah,
have a bit of perspective about things can change as well. Like we've talked about this before. You and I have both been on sites where the chefs changed and you wish that they hadn't, and they have, and you've
yeah,
just got to, sort of suck it up. So if you're thinking about accepting jobs just on the basis if the camp's going to be all right or not, you're probably a long way off where you should be, choosing your job, unfortunately. Yeah, because things change quite quickly on sites for good and for bad, so yeah,
yeah.
so I found that. And the other thing that I just wanted to bring up is too with the gym. Like if you do a job that you're sitting down all day, or you're in the office, you're one of the engineers or something like that. Yeah, gyms and sporting events after the end of the day are great and fine and all that sort of stuff. But if you're actually doing one of the jobs where you got to work for the 12 hours, the last thing that the bosses want to see you do is hit the gym up for an hour or two after you do 12 hours of charge up or development bogging or service crew, heavy service crew work or pace crew or anything like that. I know, you couldn't imagine yourself hitting the gym up for an hour after you do 12 hours of drillers off siding, could you?
Definitely not. Or chefing for that matter. Some of the camps that we were in were really hectic. And like by the time you're finished work, like your boots are literally full of sweat. Like you'd have sweat running from your head, down your back, down your pants, into your boots. Like
Uh,
just
it
the
used to
last
be
one
used to be how we measure the day. If you didn't have to,
yeah,
empty your gum boots out by 11 o'clock, you weren't going hard enough,
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
thing. Yeah, it just be aware that everybody watches everything, and if you are going to spend a lot of time in the gym, just be aware that that's going to be noted for better or for worse on your performance that you're doing in the 12 hours. So I don't
Yeah.
know how many foremen that I know that watch that like a hawk, because they want, if you doing one of the normal mining jobs, then they're pretty physical, and you should be able to get your daily exercise in the 12 hours and not really want to do a lot after you finish that.
Yeah, definitely. And it comes down to fatigue management for the supervisors too. If you're getting up, if you're getting up at 3 a.m. to go to the gym for 2 hours before you start work, that's not good for anybody.
No.
Especially not if you're doing a physical job. It's excessive. You're going to burn out for starters, and you're going to feel like shit, whether you're taking pre-workouts or drinking heaps of coffees or energy drinks or whatever you're doing. It's just not going to be healthy or safe for anybody.
Yep. Yeah, no, I was working on a site where they had a couple of bodybuilders come through because they thought they'd be good for lifting shit with service crew. And one of the guys fainted underground because he was in this eating cycle where he had to eat every 2 hours or every 3 hours or whatever. And he just didn't eat for one of the cycles that he went on and he fell over. Yeah, it was just, they had a bit of a chat to him about, how, well, it obviously wasn't going to work and all that sort of stuff. And he got flown out. But yeah, God help you if you came through and you had any muscle on you after that with the foreman. He was like, yeah, I'm never hiring another bodybuilder again, sort of thing. And that's, you just got to be aware of those sort of things that happen within the industry. It's funny to laugh about and all that sort of stuff, but it's the way people think. And if you're thinking that you're going to get a job and you're basing the job on the camp that you're going to go to, because I know you had somebody that had two job offers and they were sort of basing it on which camp that they went to. Yeah, you're probably barking up the wrong tree with that one, because the camps do change quite quickly when the chefs change, for better or for worse. And yeah, cool.
And even when the house utility crews change, the standard of everything can change, the linens, everything can change. It's not something to be thinking about. Just be grateful that you've got a shot. Pick which one you think is going to be the best job. Look at the job and the job satisfaction and what the job's going to be like, and pick it on that. And then everything else usually works out. If you're enjoying your job and you're learning and you've got a good crew, then really little stuff like that doesn't matter. And if it does, well, maybe it's not for you because you're too precious to be working FIFO.
Exactly. But it's easy to drop into a routine. It's not hard.
Yep. No.
And yeah, get your routine and, make sure that you go through it and, don't get caught up in the wet mess. The other big tip that I give to people is that if you're drinking piss in the wet mess at 8 o'clock at night, then there's every chance that you're going to have a problem with the breathalyzer at 5 o'clock the next morning. And I know a lot of bosses that'll walk past the wet mess at 8:30 to see if there's anything going on. If there's a whole heap of people up there drinking, guess what? There's a breathalyzer the next morning. If it's dead, then they don't bother, sort of thing. So yeah. And you had something, you had a question come up with with that. Yeah, go for it.
Say to you, I had a question come up. I got asked a question saying they were on a dry camp. But they were suspecting that people were bringing drugs and alcohol in. I don't know whether someone had failed a DNA or something had happened on site, an incident, but they had suspected it was happening. And so they were now going to be rolling out random drug and alcohol testing during the hours that you're off shift. So whether you're on day or night shift, the 12 hours that you're off shift and you're in your room or whatever, they were going to start rolling out randoms and knocking on people's doors and actually giving them drug and alcohol tests during their sleep time, I guess. And they were asking, are they allowed to do that? Like, is this legal? And yeah.
It pains me to say this, but yes, they own the camp. They make the rules. The contract that you will have signed will have let them make up any rules that they want to make up. And if they want to pull you up at 3 o'clock in the morning and, shove a drug test into you, then they can do it. But I've seen it happen before. I've seen people like, you wouldn't want to be doing this. You might be all right doing this in iron ore and coal at the moment, but you wouldn't want to be doing this on a gold mine at the moment with anybody with any experience, because they could quit on the spot and have a job within sort of 2 hours later. That's the other side of the coin that you've got. You've always got the right to go, no, I don't want to put up with this. I'm quitting. See you later. But if you want to keep your job, then yeah, you've got to, when they say dance, you got to dance, unfortunately. It is what it is when it comes to those sort of things, because with the camps, they're attached to the lease and to the site, and whatever they say goes. And the way they get round it is if you don't do it, they just withdraw your accommodation. So they don't actually technically sack you. You just got nowhere to stay. So if you've got nowhere to stay, you don't have a job. And I remember the
Yeah.
first guy that had his accommodation withdrawal that I came across was up in Telfer, and he wanted to go and buy a tent and go out to the limits of the lease and set himself up in his own tent and all that sort of stuff, and then drive in and drive out and all that sort of stuff. And they were like, "Oh no, you can't do that. That'd be unsafe. I'm sorry, you just don't. See you later."
Yeah, we
Yeah,
had we had a few people down at Boddington too. They were like, "Oh well, I'll just get accommodation in town," and they were like, "No,
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
work like that." And it was the question that I got asked was from an iron ore site. So unfortunately, at the moment, because of how everything is trending, they are trying to get rid of people. They are trying to cut down on numbers, and they will be bringing out some tactics and kind of culling the herd and getting it down to the good ones that they want to keep on for a care and maintenance roster. So if they're not moving to another site. So things like this will start probably happening more and more on that side of the industry at the moment,
Yep.
as they try to kind of move everyone they can to other roles, and then try and cull the dead weight, so to speak.
The dead wood. Yep, yep, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. All right, so thanks for that, Jess. I hope that answers the question for everybody about accommodation. I know we covered a few topics within that topic, but that was pretty good. So if you've got any more questions, please send them through, and if you can share the video around and like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks.
Thanks.